if you're good at one thing, you think you're probably going to be good at another.
Yep.
That was not the case at all. You always have to be that person before you are that person. The game changer for me was actually hiring coaches and mentors who have already been in my shoes. I called my mom when I saw that ad for Miss USA, and I called her and I said, limiting beliefs were probably the biggest mindset shift that I had to make.
Yep.
And just really believing in yourself, because like I said, I've had people around me that have believed in me, but truly I wasn't going to get where I wanted to go without believing in myself. And that was a really big limiting belief that I had to really just push through and believe that I could be this person, because when you have big dreams, it's sometimes, imposter syndrome is real. And it's like, when you have big dreams, you have to believe like, okay, no, let's embody her. Let's be her.
Welcome to the show, Tori.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so finally glad we got this done and got you from Scottsdale to San Diego to come on.
I know. It's been, 6 months?
Yes.
And we finally made it happen.
Yes, the scheduling, the calendars, but ever since we met at Ken Jocelyn's event, I knew I had to have you eventually in this seat.
I know. I'm so excited to be here. Ken Jocelyn's event was awesome. We shared the stage and connected there and had great conversation. And then you came on my podcast. And that was about, a year and a half ago or two? And here we are.
You say that and it bothers me because it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. And I'm like, oh my gosh, has it really been? I mean, it's almost been 2 years or 2.5 years since we shared that stage.
Too long. Yeah, 2 years.
And if you would have asked me on the street, I would have said, maybe like a year ago.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how fast time is going.
I know.
And
crazy. So
the
much
pivots and so much has been accomplished and so many things are happening that you just lose track of the calendar.
I know. Yeah, we were just talking here before we were live, and it's like the things that have happened and changed in life and business just in 2 years has been insane.
Well, your story is awesome. I mean, I got to hear you speak, and I was just like captivated listening to your story and even where you are now to where I didn't even realize walking in today just because of what has transpired over the last 6 months. But I guess my first question, because you have a cool thing. You are the 3-point. You hold the 3-point record still.
I think.
I'm gonna say it still from high school basketball. What was the drive there?
Back in the glory days.
Yes.
I mean, those were glory days. Man, I can't even remember that long ago. There was a lot. Talk about a lot of life that's happened since then. But I mean, I've always been a competitor. So playing basketball was my way of competing and growing up with a brother, and he never cut me any slack. So
Sure.
Basketball was my thing, and we just, competing was just always in my nature, in my blood. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this dang thing, we're going to win and we're going to be the best. And I carry that through, as well, I'm sure we'll get into, but I carry that through my life and business now too.
The reason I wanted to ask about basketball is because what I knew you mostly for was Miss USA Missouri.
Yep.
Which is a far transition from what you would think with athletics. Because usually you think of Miss USA, beauty pageant, yes, competitive, but a different kind, versus athlete, more rugged, care less about that. What was that transition like from sports and being the all-time 3-point leading scorer to winning Miss USA Missouri? That is a huge difference, right? There are two different mindsets, but you probably brought that competitive nature over to it. How did you get into the pageantry world? Because that's a crazy world.
Yeah, I never thought that I was going to get into pageants ever, because I did kind of grow up as a tomboy playing sports. And I mean, my whole life was revolved around basketball. And then when I got to college, I was sitting in my dorm room one day and I was bored as heck. And I was like, wait, this is all I have to do is go to school?
So no basketball in college?
No basketball in college. And I was sitting in my dorm room, and it was like one of those moments where I knew I had to do something competitive. And I saw this ad come across the screen for Miss USA. And I was like, maybe I can compete in Miss USA. And then I clicked on it, ended up applying for it. And at that time, it was Miss Iowa Teen USA. And so I just needed something competitive to do in my life. And at one point, I had a modeling agency notice me when I was, shopping around Abercrombie. And they noticed me and they asked me to apply for their modeling agency. And right then I was like, oh my gosh, I got noticed. I got seen by somebody for beauty externally, and I was an athlete. So I never even thought about, being in the modeling world or pageant world, especially. And then that thought kind of came back to me when I saw the ad come across for Miss USA. I was like, I wonder if I can get into Miss USA. And eventually I did.
Well, there's a lot in the eventually. So, because I think a lot of people have those fears, but those dreams at the same time. And we get stuck in that moment. We're like, I think I could, and then all the fear and doubt fill our heads.
Yeah.
What did you lean on to make you take that step? Because that's again, big difference between playing in a team sport where you grew up doing it to going and standing on a stage as Miss USA.
Oh my gosh, so different. I mean, it's so different because it was a team sport, and then all of a sudden you're in the spotlight being judged really externally, especially, and then in an interview, they get to know you a lot more. But it's a lot of pressure just to go to an individual sport. I always call pageantry a sport than, the team sport. So it was a really big adjustment, but I leaned on my family. And that is one thing that I hold on to this day is my family's been my rock. They've been my support. They've been my belief system. And that is truly why we'll get into this. But what I do now is because I want to be that belief and that support system for other people and help them get noticed and seen, just like I always have felt my whole life for my family.
Yeah. But how did you overcome the fear? What was that mindset thing that gave you the confidence to say, okay, I'm going to do this, no matter, even if I suck at it?
Yeah. I called my mom when I saw that ad for Miss USA, and I called her and I said, Mom, I think I can compete for Miss USA. And she was like, what? And I was like, well, I saw this ad for Miss USA. And I explained to her, I was like, I can compete at the state level first. And then if I win state, then I can go on to nationals. And she was like, well, go for it, honey. What do you have to lose? And those words eliminate fear.
Mm-hmm.
When you have people who are in your corner, and whether it be family or friends or somebody, you need to find those people who can believe in you enough where it does eliminate fear. Not completely. It never goes away completely. But it does eliminate fear when you're surrounded by people who truly, genuinely believe in you and like, go for it. And then when it comes time, it was practice, and more practice.
Practice, and more
was
practice.
Really what helped eliminate my fear of getting up on stage. And then my knees were shaking like crazy right before I go out to compete.
Sure.
And my director always told me, she said, it's okay to be nervous, and it's okay to have butterflies. Just make sure your butterflies are flying in formation.
Never heard that before.
Yeah.
That's great. Jen, our mutual friend, Jen Gottlieb, she has a saying, don't be fearless, just fear less. Right?
Yeah.
Try to find a way to just to get your butterflies in sync.
Yes.
So you click the button. You win the state, I'm assuming.
Well, I lost.
Okay.
First, I competed in Miss Iowa Teen USA. Then I went on to Miss Iowa USA. I did not win either one of those. And it was one of those things where, when you're a competitor, where you think it's just if you're good at one thing, you think you're probably going to be good at another.
Yep.
That was not the case at all. It was failure after failure with pageantry until finally I ended up moving to Missouri after college. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this pageant thing one more shot. And I competed for Miss Missouri USA. Again, I did not win.
Okay.
And so I had to overcome these challenges of, okay, what am I doing? And how can I do better?
Do they tell you why you don't win? Like, is it something where you have some clarity as to what?
Nope.
Just, you didn't win.
No, you don't win.
That's it.
And you can call your directors and they can give you some feedback, but it is nothing constructive that's really going to help your performance.
So how did you, what did you do to come back different or change the outcome? Because I know in like basketball, it's easy. In my head, I understand that if we lose the game, I can work on my shooting, my dribbling, my passing, my form, my conditioning. This is a beauty pageant. It's, what do we change? How do we improve? What do we do?
It's the same concept. Exactly. That's why I call it a sport, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the same concept where you have runway, swimsuit, evening gown, and it's really focusing, and the mental side is huge, just like a sport.
Yeah.
Mental's huge. And so I really had to take a look at, one of the things I speak about now is this formula that if you're not fulfilled in life, I really look at like spirituality. I look at, relationships. I look at career, finances, fun, and I gauge all those on a scale of 1 to 5. And it's the same thing with competition or any sport that or business for that matter. It's like, all right, what are all these areas that I was competing in? And where do I feel I ranked, if I'm being really honest with myself? And so I would go back and watch film, just like you do a sporting event, and you see, okay, well, this performance wasn't up to par. This interview, this answer wasn't up to par. My swimsuit competition, that wasn't up to par. My evening gown, my posing could have been different. And so then I hire coaches and mentors who have already been in my shoes. So the game changer for me was actually hiring people who were former Miss USAs. And I was hiring people who hadn't actually even won a state competition first. Those were my first coaches. And then I wisened up a little bit and I hired somebody who had won a state competition in the Miss USA. And then after I was like, okay, now I'm going to win this damn thing, I have to hire the people who have already been in my shoes. And at that point, I wanted to be Miss USA.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hired 2 former Miss USAs, and they changed the game for me.
Fascinating. And so you did it again.
Did it again.
The 6th
I kept
try.
coming back.
I know it was the 6th one.
There was the 6th try where I actually won the crown of Miss Missouri USA. And it was a feeling of when you get there that it was like about damn time.
Mm-hmm.
We can cuss on this podcast, right?
You can say whatever you want.
But it was about time.
I love that you think damn is a cuss word too.
I know.
That's
just so polite.
That's very Midwest. It shows.
But yeah, it was an awesome feeling. But I knew I also had Miss USA ahead of me, and I was like, oh, this is nice. We got this first step, but now we have the national championship coming up.
Mm-hmm. And so did you take the same mindset that won you the state to the nationals? Or did you spend some time reinventing and realizing like now you're going to the next level? They're all winners of state now.
Yeah, I mean, when you're with the top, 50 other women, because DC competes too, so when you're with 50 other of the top women in the country, you definitely have to take, okay, so now who do I have to become in order to be Miss USA? And my thing is you always have to be that person before you are that person. And that's why I hired those Miss USA coaches, because I had to learn their mindset, their habits. I would wake up every single day, even before I was Miss Missouri, and I was like, who do I have to, what is Miss USA doing today? And if I ever wondered if I should make a decision, I was like, wait, what would Miss USA do?
So you were being
it's like, what would
person.
Jesus do? But, that was there too. But then I also had to add, what would Miss USA do?
WW.
JD.
Yeah, but MUD. Yeah. Yeah, a little bracelet.
Yeah.
But I think it's a valuable lesson, because I think people struggle. They'll get to a certain point and they'll bring the same person that got them there to this next level, and they won't get the results because now you're supposed to be a different person.
Yeah.
You can't just bring what got you to that level to now compete against people who are at that level.
Right.
You have to go to the next person. What would Miss USA do?
Yeah.
So is there something, and obviously with pageantry, I know it's very industry specific, but is there something on the mindset side that had to change from state to national, or did you already have that and now it's just more technical?
I had to align my whole life, because at this point I was like, all right, I Miss Missouri USA. I did something right to get here after 6 years. And I became really super aware of who I was as a person and what I desired. And then really that shift was I had to align my entire life with who I wanted to become. And when I aligned that, it was a mental shift. It was a physical shift. It was decisions that I had to make. It was environment, people I was hanging out with, nutrition, of course. Yeah. And so it was really just stepping into that role as Miss USA before I got there. And so there were a lot of shifts that I just had to totally embody and embrace and, dress like Miss USA too, because you have to, when you walk into a place, people have to look at you already as that person you want to be before you are that person, so they can see you in that role. And I was completely aligned when I got there.
And the reason I'm asking so much is because the first career you had after was coaching the next Miss USAs. when we met and you were telling me like that was the one of your early businesses,
Mm-hmm.
that transition from doing to coaching and inspiring, right? You probably saw a lot of yourself in the students that were now working with you,
Yes.
hiring you. When you were coaching them, was most of it on mindset? Because I would assume that was probably the biggest hurdle. Looking at all of the women, I mean, they're all naturally beautiful.
Yeah.
They all have beautiful clothing and they have some idea of how to pose. But the difference has got to be between the ears. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
If it's like anything else, I know.
100%. And to your point, limiting beliefs were probably the biggest mindset shift that I had to make.
Yeah.
And just really believing in yourself, because like I said, I've had people around me that have believed in me, but truly I wasn't going to get where I wanted to go without believing in myself. And that was a really big limiting belief that I had to really just push through and believe that I could be this person, because when you have big dreams, it's sometimes, imposter syndrome is real. And it's like, when you have big dreams, you have to believe like, okay, no, let's embody her. Let's be her. And yeah, so it was a lot of mindset shifts with identifying different themes and patterns in my life that need to break, that need to change, adjust, and limiting beliefs too.
What's your process when you go through that self-inventory of, these are my limiting beliefs, these are the changes I have to make? It's hard to be self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
It's even harder to then take the steps and break the bad habits, because there are habits.
Yeah.
So do you have some mantras you follow or a process that you go through, or was it kind of just ebb and flow as you were going through the transition?
Yeah. So like I said, that fulfillment aspect, I call it a fulfillment chart.
Okay.
And I really
5?
take, yes. So I take spirituality, relationships, finances, career, and fun. And gotta have fun in life. What's life without a little fun? So I take that, and then I really identify what areas are at a 5, what are really thriving. Am I really fulfilled? Am I really happy in life? And I use that to this day. And so when I fill out that chart mentally, then I can tell what areas I'm lacking in. And then you can pretty quickly identify what is holding you back, because you're believing something about that area of your life or not putting enough effort into it that's holding you back from the life that you actually want.
And did you come up with these 5 on your own, or was this kind of something that someone instilled in you?
So I hired a Tony Robbins coach back in, I don't even know what year it was, at least, 6 to 8 years ago. And I hired a Tony Robbins coach, and that really inspired me. And I don't know exactly what his 5 are now, but it was something based upon that. I don't think fun was in there.
Should be.
It should be, but mine has fun in there. So I tweaked it just a little bit, but that's where it inspired me, because it really helped me identify where, like, why I wasn't happy in some areas of my life.
And did you find that once you did that and you started to use them, how long did it take to see the results? Was it kind of like you started to see them right away, or was there a period? Because we all do those activities expecting immediate game-changing, life-changing results, but they don't always happen immediately.
No.
You have to give things the time it takes and embrace the process.
Yes. Consistency,
which I'm assuming, knowing you as I do, that's one of your non-negotiables.
Yes. I mean, it's still something, though, that, I still struggle with in some areas of my life, is just being super consistent. We were just talking about traveling all the time and speaking. And, it's really hard to stay up with those healthy habits when you're on the road and you're speaking, the sleep and the nutrition and working out and all of that. So there's some areas that I'm always working on with consistency, but that is the key to really lasting happiness and lasting success and in everything that you do.
And so when you started coaching others in the pageantry space, was that almost more fulfilling for you than when you were doing it yourself?
Yes and no. It was totally different. So 2 things. When I was competing myself, it was so fulfilling because there was an influence that came with the crown.
Yeah.
And it was really amazing to see when I would walk into a room at an appearance that I could positively influence these young girls. And I mean, not even just young girls. I mean, I was at different like veterans homes and things, and it was just so amazing, like heartwarming too. I just like get that feeling back when I'm talking about. I'm like, it was just so heartwarming to have that sense of like influence, that you could positively influence somebody's life like that. So that just warmed my heart. But then when I trained girls, it was so fun because it was really fulfilling, helping them fulfill their dream that I once had too. And just seeing, like, learning about other women and what the impact they want to make on the world and helping them get there was really cool. And then once they did, then you could cheer for them at Miss USA, but it's just cool to see other people win. That's the biggest thing. I know you're a huge relationship guy, so I'm sure you can relate with that.
I can. I mean, I think I find now, I used to always think it was like, oh, when I do this, I'm going to be happy. When I do this, and I would accomplish some of those things. And I realized I always was like, what's next? But still to this day, my best days, even in like an Ever Bowl, would be being in a restaurant and connecting with a human being and seeing their enjoyment, just for some reason. And I don't know what it is, but having someone else gain some benefit and watching their story, you're like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you kind of like it almost, I wouldn't say more, but it impacts you differently than when it's your own wins. Because and this isn't, maybe this is self-confidence, but I expect to achieve my own stuff. I root for other people.
Amen.
Yeah. But it's because I have an unwavering self-confident belief in myself that if I put in the work and I follow my formula, the result will come.
Yes.
And so I root for other people. And when they win, it's like rooting for your sports team. You're like, you're so excited.
That's the best way to say it. Yeah.
Because I enjoy watching the Lakers win.
Yes.
And I get really happy when they do. And so same thing with people, like when I can have a positive impact, like speaking on stages, which is how we met.
Yes.
And when we met, you were transitioning out of the coaching of pageantry, and now you were coaching women predominantly. In business, in life. Is there a third one I'm missing?
Branding,
business life, branding, personal branding. Yep. Because there was that element of, and I think it's good because you were a spokesperson for the strong woman that needs to be there, right? Like I can't speak the same to women like you can, and I can speak to men like you can't. There is a part of gender there which I think is powerful. Yes. And you can help women believe in themselves in a way that they need to and control a room, grow their brand, get the right mindset. And so I've found with kind of getting to know you how much you love the coaching side. You've done it on so many things, and even today now is it considered coaching? Personal style, styling?
No, it's more I'm their hype girl. If it's not coaching anymore, it's their hype girl on the side of coaching. But no, I do virtual fashion styling.
Yes.
So that's.
But in a way, it's coaching because
it is. It's empowerment, really. It's empowering women to feel more attractive in who they are.
And I love what you're doing. For those that don't know yet, Tori, I'm going to say it worse than you are, but I'm going to try.
Okay, let's hear it.
I'm going to do my best. But basically, and I need this for a man because I have trouble, but you help people be and look the right way for the stage and for the event. So you provide the style to bring out match their personality and their message with how they look.
Exactly. You did so well. Good job.
I need this service.
Yes,
I don't see colors. You. So I'm like, my wife will be like, you're not wearing that. I'm like, why not? She's like, it doesn't match. I'm like, it's gray and this color. And she's like, it doesn't match. So I need that because I probably look like an idiot half the time. But I know that there's a lot of anxiety when you go on a stage from, am I going to deliver the right message? Are people going to receive it? And you help solve one of the biggest areas that I think people struggle, which is appearance. Because the first thing people see is how you look when you walk on that stage. And do you look confident? Do you look put together? Do you look like the message you're about to bring? When you do that kind of styling, how much do you have to get to know the individual to provide the look?
You have to get to know them quite a bit. I love getting to know people. That is one of my favorite things. I love getting to know like people's passions, who they are, what lights them up, what their gifts are. And I love seeing that in people when they can't see it themselves sometimes. And so I really sit down with all my clients and really take a deep dive into who they are as a person, what kind of goals they want to achieve, what their brand is, what their business is, and what their message is, and how we can find an image and attractiveness externally that can align with their purpose internally. Because, like you said, that is a really big thing when it comes to speaking, is there's a lot of pressure on how to look, what your presence is, what your image is. And it saves a lot of women a lot of time. And it also saves a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Because I take care of all of that for them. And it's fun to align with their message and their brand too, because it's just, that's your purpose and power as a speaker. And when you find that perfect image and the clothes that make you feel hot on stage, and you go out there and it's a feeling, right? It's so much more than clothes. It's a feeling that you have inside that is an energy. When you feel good, when you look good, you have a different energy that you're portraying, and your message comes across way more confident, way better, way more impactful, and you're attracting more of those opportunities and people into your life that you desire just because you feel better.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. You superheroes, when they put on their uniform, they go and do their job.
Yeah.
And speakers need that same thing, especially if trying to deliver a message.
Yes.
And I love that. And I've never heard of anyone but you who does this, I want to know the story of how you even found this niche and this opportunity being in your world. Like, how did you stumble across this?
Yeah, so fashion has always been a part of my life. I mean, when I was a little kid, my mom would always, dress me to the nines. And I remember 5 years old, I was at a country concert and Faith Hill was singing, and she came down off stage and she started singing to me because she asked me to come up, and I was like, no, I was too bashful. Shocker now, right? I was shy once. And I remember that because my mom put me in this cute little outfit, and I got attention from that, from Faith Hill of all people. And those little moments stick with you. And then, as I grew older and I started getting involved in pageantry, and I found the importance of being a walking billboard for your brand, it's so in how many opportunities you get because of your presence and your image. And I started to realize that because you could be a really amazing human and have a really great business that you can help people with. But if somebody doesn't want to speak to you, if they don't, your clothes are a conversation piece. I can't tell you, just right here at the San Diego airport, I got one of my biggest clients because I came out of the bathroom and she's like, I love your jacket. And I was like, thank you. It was a conversation piece. She ends up, purchasing one of my programs. And it's just, it's fun because clothes can be such a conversation starter. And then people get to see the beauty that's within. And so that's what I really have understood throughout the years. And then after competing at Miss USA, same thing, is being a walking billboard for your brand is very important and makes you feel really good. And so that has always been ingrained in me throughout my entire life. But then I was actually speaking at a event just a couple years ago at a business conference, actually right before we met. And I was speaking at this event, and the host of the event called me up a little bit later, and he was like, hey, I have this client who is in the finance industry, and she really wants to look the part. She said, all the men, you can tell who the wealthy men are, but all the women look the same. And she wants to look like a wealthy woman. And he was like, do you do anything like this? And I was like, yes, I do, matter of fact. And I was like, I always have wanted to do this. And so she was my very first styling client. And I do all virtual styling. And so I created these capsules for her, shoppable links, this customized wardrobe for her brand photo shoot that she did. And from then, when I did that, I felt this new sense of purpose in my life where kind of all of my worlds came together. Mm-hmm. And that's really where the styling aspect, my company totally took a pivot from mindset and confidence coaching. And now it's a beautiful thing because I get to make women feel confident and attractive externally. And then they could show their gifts internally because they get attention. You
said capsules. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
So wardrobe capsules. So, what we're wearing right now, right? Just take the individual blazer, the pants, the shirt, the heels, the purse, and I put it all into one document, one capsule where it looks all pretty for you. Yeah. And then I put shoppable links with it as well. And so they're completely customized to your brand, to your message, to your purpose, and just who you are, and really to your next level self. Mm-hmm. All of my clients are like, oh man, you stretched me a little bit here. And I'm like, that's what I'm supposed to do.
And I want to hit on this because I purposefully did the opposite in my very first speaking event. And I want to share a story so everyone really gains the power of what Tori's saying. I speak on relationship capital. It's one of my talks. And I once spoke at Traffic and Conversion Summit back in 2012. used to always wear a backwards hat, and I was dressed in athleisure wear in 2012, which when it was frowned upon to do that at a business meeting. And everyone there pregame, before I went on stage, was ignoring me. I'd go and say, hey, nice to meet you. And they would quickly, you could tell they didn't want to talk to me because I was dressed like I was the help and not like I was someone at the conference. And then I went on stage and you saw the mouths drop open and everyone go, and I was teaching a lesson by showing like, don't judge a book by its cover because you don't know who you're talking to. But the point is, to what you just said is it's human nature. We judge books by its cover. How you show up, you're a walking billboard for your brand. If you don't have the right appeal, the right dress, the right look, you're working twice as hard to accomplish and get your message delivered. Because had I dressed to the nines and had you there to style me, those people would have talked to me before I went on stage and I could have built better relationships. And it wasn't me teaching a lesson of what not to do and get nothing for it, right? Which was kind of a dumb way for me to spend my time. And I realized it after, but it was so true. And so the fact that you are helping people not make that mistake unintentionally and show up the way they need to look is so powerful. And I think as we all build our brands and try to get more exposure and be seen and represent the companies and our values and our message, how we look will allow us to accomplish that or not.
Right. Absolutely. Well, like you said, it just kind of expedites the process. It's not like you're never going to get that opportunity, but you could have 10 more, 15 more conversations that you would have never otherwise had just because somebody was like, I love that blazer, or I like your outfit, or just, it's a respect factor too. People immediately think it's perception. People immediately think you're somebody when you're more elevated.
Yes. And who doesn't want an elevator?
Yes.
Right? Who doesn't want an elevator for their career in life? Yeah. And so I love that you're providing this because when we met, you were doing mindset coaching predominantly, and that is so important because that's another limiting belief for so many people. That's the hurdle to get over it here. But like you said, if you can make them feel sexy, feel good, feel empowered to deliver their message, that's one less thing that's going to keep them from achieving it, right? Yes. From getting there. Yeah. And although it's, for those listening and like me, I didn't know this was an option. Like it is, you're paving the way for a brand new industry. Yeah. That most people don't know exists.
It's exciting. It's exciting because when I style female speakers, they're also giving other people permission in their audience to level up too. And that's one of the coolest things that I see that happens is female speakers and male speakers, all speakers, anybody who's standing on stage has a massive amount of influence to the audience. And it's so cool to watch these speakers influence the people who are, sitting there listening to their message, empowering them to actually, it like gives them permission to step into that next level version of them because the speaker has committed to leveling up themselves too.
And I mean, you've started a few different businesses. So you're a serial entrepreneur. So you obviously have the same unwavering confidence, self-confidence that you'll figure it out.
Yes.
And because you're building a new business in an industry that doesn't exist, you don't have anyone to look at. Like I'll improve a copycat business. I've started a restaurant. There's other restaurants. I can learn from others. I can go and experience. I can YouTube how-tos. What is your roadmap here? How are you figuring this space out? How are you creating this?
Yeah, so there's always people who are ahead of us in anything, right? My chapter 10 is not somebody's chapter 20 and vice versa. So I always, again, I kind of go back to the different categories where I think about like, all right, who's a very good serial entrepreneur? They might not be doing the exact same thing I'm doing, but who's a really successful female entrepreneur that I can look up to and really speak with on a mentor level of how to run a business properly because, being inside of the business isn't always sometimes the most productive, as as an entrepreneur. So it's really building out that team of people who are going to be like family. And so just really finding those mentors in life who are entrepreneurs. And there's other stylists out there, celebrity stylists. And so it's really kind of finding the different, I'm a luxury stylist. So I can kind of look at different business models, so to speak, of different stylists and kind of pull what's working, what's not, what do I love, what do I think is going to be beneficial for my clients and for these women who are speaking on stages who are really, really busy entrepreneurs and how can I provide the highest level service for them so it's very seamless for them, it's very efficient, and it's a very luxury customized product. So it's surrounding myself with people who have those sort of businesses, but maybe not the same exact industry.
Yeah. And what are you doing to market yourself and this? Because you know clearly who your client is.
Yes.
How are you getting in front of them?
Attending events, speaking at events, just like how we met. We met speaking on stage, and here we are now. So it's just really creating those relationships that are so important, and really investing in them too, and supporting those people and their businesses, their companies, their mission and purpose, and just surrounding yourself with them and see the rooms that they're in, the people who they're interacting with, and just really showing up and being consistent.
Being consistent. Besides, okay, I'm glad you brought that up. So as we talked about, I believe success is formulaic. So I have my core values, my non-negotiables. Outside of the 5 that you do your self-reflection, do you have a few rules you live by daily or weekly, monthly, that you say, this is how Tori operates? When I don't know what to do, I'm leaning into these. So it's not a reflection, but it's kind of like your formula for success. Do you have that clearly defined or a set of core values, or is it more just innately how you've been raised and who you are?
So for business or personal?
Both.
It's kind of combined, right?
Yeah, I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
Fun is one of our pillars.
Fun. Yep,
Yes.
There we go. Faith is number 1 to me. So that's always something that no matter what, if I'm feeling shaken or something's uncertain, I always go back to my faith, and I keep that as the core foundation. Faith, family, fun.
Yep, the 3 Fs.
Yes, the 3 Fs.
3 Fs.
So that is that's one thing that I always go back to. And again, I'll say it time and time again, but it's just surrounding yourself with the right people. And I would say this year, I've had my business for almost 5 years now. And this year I can confidently say that I finally am surrounded with a really amazing group of female entrepreneurs. And it's taken a long time, and entrepreneurship can get very lonely at times. And now this year I've just been so just focused on finding that really amazing group of female entrepreneurs who are like my girlfriends in business. And that's who I can run to and talk to and strategize with and be like, hey, what's working for you? Here's what's working for us. And just have a real relationship with people. It feels good to finally have that group of people in my life that I can run with,
And knowing that you have them now, have you crafted your message different from stage, from like over the years to this new version of you? Or are you still delivering and helping the entrepreneur kind of where you were? Does that make sense as a question? Let me ask it better, because I confused myself when I said that. But I'm finding as I'm growing as an entrepreneur, I need to remember that, to your point, my chapter 10 is not necessarily someone else's chapter 10. And so because of your influence, because of your expertise and how far you've come and what you're around, do you find that you're still trying to help the female entrepreneur and you also help male entrepreneurs, but I know you're more focused on the female. Are you trying to help them get to basically your level 10, or are you trying to expand them to the more advanced, the more sophisticated, where you kind of are going in the challenges you're dealing with that you've just recently have overcome?
Yeah, it's more of like the intermediate, I would say, where they already have their brand, they're already, fairly established, and they're wanting to go to that next level. So it's really a little bit of both. I still talk about mindset, personal development. That'll always be something that's a part of my journey, but it's really helping them get to that point where they're like, all right, I'm here, but now I really want to go here and go over this mountaintop. And that's really who I'm talking to now.
Because your book, which I got a copy of, thankfully, and it's going to be signed by the famous Tori Kruse, is more about mindset and expanding beyond your limits and beliefs.
Yes.
And I know we may be writing another book. Maybe you heard it here first. I don't know.
I think you did.
I think you did. But obviously this book was kind of a reflection of the majority of your life, right? We talked about it. And that experience of pouring it into words and kind of seeing it there, has that kind of been, and for me, I wrote a book and I kind of felt like it was, in a weird way, it was kind of like a trampoline. Right? That now that I see it in writing of what I put out there, I want to springboard to the next thing. Your book on mindset and belief so that is the number one struggle for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs. It's between the ears. We have so many more gifts, tools, talents that we don't than we realize. And it's either we lack confidence, we don't know how to get to the next step, we get anxiety and fear and apprehension and our knees shake, and we tell, the famous country singer, no, I'm not going on stage. I'll stand right here. Are you finding now, because you have confidence coming out of your ears. I mean, you're such a confident woman. Do you find that you're able to, now that you've written it down, are you like taking that inspiration and saying, okay, my next book is going to deliver that? Or is it more just like, what's your goal for you because you've accomplished so much and you have so much confidence and your book is such a great reflection of that? What is like that next thing? How do you stay going to that? I'm trying to find the word, that next level.
Like, what's the next goal that I have?
Not like individual goal, but like to improve Tori, because you already kill it in confidence. You obviously you're dressed to the nines. You help people get dressed to the nines. So you already have success coming everywhere. How are you staying and going to that next level? Like, how are you trampolining to the next phase?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. It's really, again, I mean, I feel like I've said consistency a lot, but it's really staying consistent in those things that I have built in my life, between my faith, staying consistent in that, staying consistent in health. I mean, you never realize how important health is until you get sick one day, and then you're like, oh, shoot, now I can't really do anything. And so it's staying consistent in those healthy habits, staying consistent in my relationships, keeping those healthy. And then in business, it's really leveling up my mentors and coaches constantly, just like I did in Miss Missouri. I mean, that was one of my greatest lessons that I had learned, was to just always invest in yourself, in your business, and you're going to have much more of an impact on, and help other people by surrounding yourself with people who are also challenging you to level up. So it's just really turning the notch up a little bit, just on all of those things. Yes, I've had success, but there's new levels of success that I really aspire to get to. So just putting one foot in front of the other every single day, and just being real with yourself about where you're at, and never compare your chapter 10 to somebody else's chapter 20, and just stay on track and stay focused, and really focus on nurturing those relationships in your life, because you go further together and more fulfilled together too.
Absolutely. How would you define success for yourself?
Fulfillment, joy, and happiness, and being surrounded by the people who make you happy, joyful. Like, success and joy is just the same thing to me. I mean, sure, we can have financial success, but that doesn't mean internally, like deep down in your soul, you're actually successful and happy. And so to me, when I hear the word success, the first thing I think of is joy and happiness. And that is by surrounding yourself in environments that you love, people that you love. And for me, my faith, having that, stake in the ground with my faith is what success is.
That's your foundation.
Then you can't waver.
Yeah. And if you had the ability to speak to people watching this, which you do, and they were saying, okay, I'm struggling, I'm trying, I haven't yet had that breakthrough. I just didn't win for the 5th time. I'm ready to quit. Nothing's going my way. I can't seem to break through. I can't figure out how to get there, or everything I'm doing is not working. What's that one message you would tell them to stay focused, stay committed, stay consistent, keep going? It can happen. They're looking at you and they're saying, hey, Tori, how can I go a 6th time?
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
I would take a moment and breathe, take a breath, cry it out if you need to cry it out. I did that a few times. And get back up on your feet and do the things that you know are actually going to get you to success. Do those habits that you've already taught yourself, that you've already done before, that you've achieved success, and do that same thing over and over, even if it feels boring. Because I did that every single year when I lost Miss Missouri, and I've done it as an entrepreneur. There's a lot of days still where, you feel discouraged, you feel doubt or fear, you try to take that next big jump and that next leap in your business, and it just feels scary. And you think back to yourself. I also write down my accomplishments. If I'm really feeling doubtful in myself of like going to this next level, I write down all the things that I've actually accomplished. And Jen Gottlieb actually says this in her book too. When I was reading Be Seen by her book, little plug for hers, it's phenomenal.
Great book.
Amazing. And when I was reading that, she has a part in the beginning of her book where it says, write down all your accomplishments. And I did that again. And I was like, wow, like you don't realize how many beautiful blessings you've had in life that are personal wins, business wins, and how many amazing people you're actually surrounded by in your life until you put pen to paper. And then when you do that, it totally eliminates fear. You get back up on your feet and you're like, oh, wait, I can do this.
Mm-hmm. It's an exercise I think we all should do. I need to do that myself. Because you're right. We take the wins, we put them in the drawer, we keep moving. Mm-hmm. And so the bad days feel really bad.
Yeah.
Versus taking that moment to say, look, I'm surrounded by incredible humans. I've had all these wins. No matter how big or small, it doesn't matter. They're wins, right? I got up today and I'm feeling healthy. Mm-hmm. That's a win.
Yeah.
And it's true. You don't realize how important health is till the day you don't have it. Mm-hmm. And the amount of money you make is totally irrelevant. I mean, Steve Jobs didn't get to enjoy his money, right? He died too soon as a result of health. So financial success is only one pillar. And I think that that's what confuses a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs and people who are trying to get that success is we wrongly make success equal money.
Yes.
And it doesn't. As you said, joy and happiness, like that is a better, to me, success is freedom. That's what I call it. That's my definition, is I want freedom. So if I have financial success, I have financial freedom. If I have health success, I have freedom to live my best self. If I have success with my family, then I have freedom to have a wonderful relationship. Because when you don't have that success, there's issues.
Yeah.
And you don't have that freedom. So for me, but I love that the joy and happiness connection to that word success, because that's a theme that I'm trying to inspire. That's my big audacious goal, is I want to help everyone become successful in life. Total 360 degrees. And I want to do that by interviewing extremely successful people like yourself and share what has made Tori successful for them. So before we wrap up, I just want to ask, is there one more message that, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of young in age and in experience, people who are struggling to break through. Yeah. And sometimes, as you said, it's that one thing that just gives them that aha. Mm-hmm. Is there one more message or one thing that you can leave for them that maybe impacted you in a way that you didn't expect, or a story that was like, oh my gosh, when this happened, I just saw the world differently, or something changed? Anything that you can leave them that would maybe help somebody listening to this as they're driving and they're struggling mentally or emotionally, and they're just trying to hear that one word or that one example.
Yeah, no, I don't have a specific story that was just, it changed everything, truthfully. But I will say the thing that I've always focused on as an entrepreneur is to continually enjoy the small moments and have fun in those small moments, in those small wins, but also keep pushing. And there's, as an entrepreneur, you always have, what you need to do, plain and simple. We all know what we need to do. And when you need to get over that hump, there's something that you need to do. And this is your sign right now to go do the dang thing, because that is the one thing that is making you feel like crap, that is holding you back, that is causing the doubt, that is causing the fear. It's because you're not staying committed to yourself. So go do that one thing right now that you need to do, that's going to make your personal life or your business shift and go to the next level. And don't be afraid to be the biggest light that you have ever been. Because there's some times where we get in our mind and get in our brain about ourselves that, we might be too much, or this might be too loud, or this might be too much when I walk into the room. Don't be afraid to shine your light. And that is what I want to share with everybody, because that sometimes gets in the way, I think, when you know that you have the biggest gift and the biggest passion for it, and you could help so many people. But if you're holding yourself back, you're not enabling, the people. You can't help other people if you're holding yourself back. So let your light shine and don't be scared to shine it.
That's a great message. And I hope everyone takes that advice. I know I'm going to. I'm going to do that one. I'm going to go do the dang thing.
Go do the dang thing.
Go do the dang thing. Well, Tori, thank you for coming on today. This has been great. It's been too long since I've gotten to hang out with you. Hopefully it's not another year and a half since till we see each other next time. I
Let's hope
know
not.
you're in Scottsdale for now.
For now.
Good old Arizona. But thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom, your experience, your story. And for those who are on stages and looking to be the best looking version of yourself, to give you that confidence, to make yourself the walking billboard you need to be, you got to reach out to Tori. I know I'm pushing her to expand from just females to males because I need help. I know I don't dress right. I am not the best looking version of what I should for my message. So when you expand to males, I'm going to be one of your first clients.
Let's go. I'm excited.
Thank you for sharing and providing all this value.
Thank you so much for having me on. We are not going to wait 2 years again to be in this spot, but I absolutely adore you as a person and your company, and Everbowl is the best. I was telling you off camera, but it is the best acai bowl company that I have truly ever had. And I support you 100%. And just thank you so much for having me on the show.
You're a rock
It's been
star.
fun.
Thank you, Tori.
Hey everyone, first I want to thank all of you for tuning in. And if you guys haven't heard about my new book, Relationship Bank Account, click the link in the show notes or search the title on Amazon. This book is packed with all my secrets to success in both relationships and life. Make sure to pick up a copy, and if the book helps you on your journey, let us know by leaving a review. I appreciate all of you and can't wait to see you on the next one.